Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. And today's webinar is Thriving Being Vegan or Plant-Based in an Unfriendly World. Because you know what? The world isn't very friendly towards people who are vegan or plant-based sometimes. I mean, it just happens. It just happens. So we're, by the way, I'm gonna mute everybody. Okay, good. That took care of that. So the thing is, we live in a world where, in fact, we've seen a lot of that this last several years, where if you're different, if you believe differently, if you think differently, if you act differently, you can experience hostility towards you. That sometimes happens, and sometimes people are that way. We see that. We're going to talk about that and what's really happening around that and what underneath that. So we've got a lot that we're going to cover. So in the chat window, to get started, go ahead and please type in the chat window where you are from right now, where you are at. All right, so where you are at. And some of you are outside of Sacramento. Now, if you're in Sacramento, don't bother. I know where you're at. But if you're outside of Sacramento, type in where you're at, wherever that is. Okay, so we've got people from all over, which is so exciting. Denver, Colorado, Massachusetts, Washington, D.C., Inglewood, California, my old stomping grounds. All right, Modesto, Carmichael. All right, Auburn, Davis, Howell, Michigan. All right, great, great. I just talked with somebody who just registered from Tel Aviv, Israel. I don't know if she's going to join us because it's midnight there. So, really cool. So Spring Valley, Lake County, California, great, great. Oh, lots of great things. Now, I want to also ask you to do something else. So in your chat window, type in if you've been vegan or plant-based, it doesn't matter to me, all right? And for how long? How long has that been? Okay, so you've been vegan or plant-based, whichever you've been, for how long, and just, years is not specific enough. Oh, say over 20 years, over 30 years, whatever, so give me something. Okay, so 2 years. And if you're not, and if you're just if you're curious, type that in too. You're not, you just will be. So we have some that have been, just a few short period of time. Okay. 18 months, 3 years, 4 years, it'll be 11 years this April, vegan 2 years, 4 years, 15 plus years. Great, great, awesome, awesome, awesome. Really great. So just to let you know, I have been strictly vegan. So whole food, plant-based, vegan. And of course, I've been getting better all the time, but that journey started in early 1995. So it's been 26 years for me. And I became vegetarian. I started becoming vegetarian. I would say I started becoming vegetarian and in 1981, so 40 years that I've been at this, slowly, gradually improving my health, improving my knowledge about nutrition. So I've been able to do that. Wow, let's see here, some more. Vegan 30 years, whole food plant-based 2 years, great. Vegetarian 73, since 73. Vegan a few years, don't remember, it was a gradual process. I've always been getting better. So I've been doing that. So that's really great. Really, really awesome. Now, I want you to write in the chat window, I'll put it this way. Which relationship do you have the greatest struggle with somebody who is not vegan or plant-based in your life? So whether it's a spouse, whether it is a son or a daughter, whether it's a grandson, whatever the case, who is it? A friend? Who is it that you have the greatest struggle with in terms of they're not vegan or plant-based and you struggle with them? So go ahead, put that in, what is that relationship? Okay, so that's your best friends, 3 of them, your cat. George, you cracked me up. All right, your friends. Sick loved ones who don't want to hear about it. Yeah, definitely. Friends. Yeah, lots of us have friends that are resistant. They don't want to hear about it. And we struggle with that. Your women's church group totally got that. Oh my God. I could tell you stories about my men's group. Oh my God. So yeah, lots of great stories on that one. Yeah. And even the minister, he said, well, Reuben, you bring a great message of health to our congregation. And then he scheduled a crab feed for after my talk. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my goodness. I said, no, don't do that. So, your boyfriend for 19 years, he refuses to go vegan. I'm the only one vegan in all the family members. Yeah, totally got it. Yeah, so we have struggles. So let me tell you a little bit about how this seminar topic came about. So it was, let's see, it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I had a wonderful, amazing gentleman come to one of my seminars. His name is Al Schmidt. Al is a wonderful dear friend. Al has at the age of 80, realized by going to Kaiser to the emergency room 17 years in a row in an ambulance ride, that he had some issues. Now, this is a very intelligent and brilliant man. I mean, he was a researcher with NASA, and I mean, he's absolutely a brilliant mind. And so he went to Kaiser and he asked about, is there anything else that I can do besides going to the emergency room for heart attacks and heart problems every single year? And so they recommended that he go to this class on plant-based nutrition. So he went to this class and he had no idea about this, and then he got how to treat and reverse heart disease by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and the China study by Dr. T. Colin Campbell. Read them both cover to cover, immediately changed his life and started changing his diet. It was extraordinary. I mean, he lost weight, all his numbers got better. It was incredible. He still had lots to learn. And he came into one of my seminars and he started learning more about things. In fact, one of the things that I share with him, I'll never forget the first seminar that he came to with me. It was the 5 secrets to living a thriving, healthy, happy life. And he realized in that seminar when I talked about the 5 secrets, and he said, oh my goodness, I need a whole new set of friends because I've been surrounding myself with people who have stinking thinking. And so he started on a quest to create a whole new group of friends. And for his 81st birthday, I was one of his honored guests at Faux Fresh. I'll never forget it. And we had this wonderful dinner that he treated us to, and it was absolutely fabulous. He had 26 new friends that were all vegan and plant-based. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was just really amazing. Now, 2 years after that, he had done my program as well, my immersion program, and Al said, Reuben, I've got one issue that's really kind of, plaguing me. It's my wife. And, she just doesn't want to hear it from me. Now, we've been married for, I forget how many years, a long time. And he said, so I have a challenge. So how do I deal with that? And he said, Reuben, I would love for you to do a seminar on this topic and how to actually wrestle with, I'm not getting divorced, but how do I deal with this more effectively? And I said, Al, you bring up a very important topic. It's very, very important. And it's relevant. And it's relevant to creating a healthy lifestyle. So I said, I will do it. And then that was 2 years ago that I did my first version of this seminar, and Al was in attendance there. He loved it. It was great. So in honor of Al, I do this seminar, and it's really wonderful because it really is relevant. I'll bring it to our attention for today. So I received an email, when was it? Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And I'll share this story. This sets the stage. And this woman writes, my problem are my kids. I am envious of those with small children that can raise them vegan. My kids are aged 21 and 17. My 21-year-old is in nursing school and works as a CNA, but both don't cook, only mommy cooks. The 21-year-old doesn't have the time, and they both want meat. I buy grass-fed local beef from Whole Foods and welfare-raised organic chicken from Whole Foods. I do give Whole Foods credit in that they try to get local. I don't want to have to buy meat at all and try to give my girls the guilt trip about killing animals. Don't want to do that. My 18-year-old knows to only eat a little meat and so thinks it's okay to still eat meat. All in all, I am cooking with meat for my kids and I don't want to be. What do I do? I feel obligated to give them meat because it is what they want and how they were raised. I need some help here. I hope that sets the stage for you because that's what we're dealing with a lot. That's the reality of life. And that's what we're going to actually address today. So that's my intention, is to really address scenarios like this, to really understand what we can do in a compassionate, loving, and kind way. Because really, when it comes to being vegan and plant-based, we're really all about taking care of ourselves, others, the animals, the environment, aren't we? We are. So it's real important for us to keep that in mind. So we've got lots to cover today. I've got some really great information that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Okay, and you are not alone. You are not alone. So there's a lot of good information that we're going to go through. Now, let me just take a moment here to switch over to my PowerPoint. So give me a moment. I'm going to do a couple of little clicks here. All right, so now click and click and click and click and click and click, and there we are. All right, so let's see. Let me put up a couple more things here. All right, so we're just about ready. So I love this picture because, you know what? I've always been considered the black sheep in the family. So, always. All right, so that's just me. I've always been that, and I'm very proud of it. It's not a problem. So I just know that about myself. You know, that people don't, they kind of look at me weird in my family. All right, so I mean, I grew up eating meat because that was what my family did. And then I changed after I left home and, you know, went to live by myself in college and everything else. And I started working in the hospital. And what started me to become vegan was doing autopsies, because I looked inside the body of human beings who had passed away mostly from chronic diseases. And when Dr. Glover told me, when I was dissecting the aorta and it was going, and I said, Dr. Glover, what's that? He said, those are your cheeseburgers there. I stopped eating cheeseburgers. And when I dissected a carotid artery one time, it went, and I asked Dr. Glover, I said, what's that? He says, those are your hot dogs there. And I stopped eating hot dogs and I started learning about nutrition, started learning about it a lot more. And it was really quite exciting for me to learn more about how to be healthy. So my name, Ruben J. Guzman, MPH, does not stand for the speed that I drive my car. All right, it stands for Masters in Public Health. And I got that degree from UCLA back in 1988. I specialized in behavioral sciences, which is an advanced psychology degree, and health promotion. Loved my program. It was fabulous. When I got done, I had a very important decision to make. Do I, or do I not, return to UC Davis School of Medicine to complete my training to become a physician? I'd spent 3 years at UC Davis School of Medicine, and I realized at that point that I was passionate. I was clear that I was passionate about promoting health and preventing disease, and I was no longer interested in treating disease. So I made a bold decision. Back then, it was a really bold decision. I chose not to go back to medical school and to study lifestyle medicine on my own. Now, back then, there was nothing called lifestyle medicine. It didn't exist. I was ahead of my time. And I started doing that on my own by reading the works of people like Dr. John McDougall, Caldwell Esselstyn, T. Colin Campbell, Neil Barnard, and the list goes on. So in 2016, I went to a conference on nutrition and healthcare. And at that conference, there was a presentation from Dr. Leonoff about the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I said, holy mackerel, lifestyle medicine, it actually exists. And I was so thrilled. So lifestyle medicine is an evidence-based approach to prevent, reverse, and treat chronic disease using lifestyle measures as opposed to medications. And guess what? We can do a better job. So lifestyle measures include nutrition, physical activity, emotional well-being and stress management, alcohol and tobacco reduction, healthy relationships, hydration, and sleep, all of which are like the spokes of our wheel of life. And it's very important for us to really address all of these spokes, not just one. And it makes a profound difference. So in 2017, I went to my first lifestyle medicine conference in Tucson, Arizona. It was incredible to just walk into a complete ballroom that was filled with over 1,200 lifestyle medicine professionals, health professionals from 38 different countries. It was incredible. The energy was so palpable, it was amazing. And they announced at that conference the opening of a board certification examination, one category for physicians, MDs and DOs, a second category for professionals, and that was open to PhDs and people with a master's in a health-related field. Huh, that's me. So I signed up. I was so excited. I studied for a year. In October 2018, went to my second lifestyle medicine conference in Indianapolis. And at the end of the conference, I took my exam and I passed my exam. So I am one of just a few, there's not very many of us lifestyle medicine, board certified lifestyle medicine professionals in the entire United States. In fact, yeah, I'll just show you because I mean, on my certificate, which I'm going to be getting framed. So here's my certificate, and the number on my certificate is number 81. 81. All right. So I am, I'm one of the first 100 of these professionals. So it's really extraordinary. So the day will come when lifestyle medicine will be approved for reimbursement by your insurance company. Hold on to your hats. In fact, Blue Shield has a lifestyle medicine department right now. Kaiser recognizes lifestyle medicine as a big part of their practices as well. So there's a lot of things going on there. In addition to this, I'm also a member of the Institute of Coaching, McLean Hospital at Harvard. I'm so excited because this is what incorporates coaching at the highest level for healthcare. And it's really wonderful. So I'm very, very proud to be a member of this. So I get to live into this quote that Thomas Edison said well over 100 years ago, that the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will instruct his patient in the care of the human frame and diet and in the cause and prevention of disease. I also want to let you know, for those of you who are new, I have absolutely zero, zilch, nada as far as conflicts of interest. So no gimmicks, no sales, no scams, none of that. I'm an educator. I am passionate about doing this. I believe that it's important for us to do this. I'm an ambassador for lifestyle medicine. I'm passionate about eliminating chronic disease from the face of the planet. And secondly, I also believe that we all as adults have a responsibility to pay it forward and make this world a better place for our children and our future posterity. So that's why I do these for free. For free, that's crazy, right? I do it for free, yeah. So it's like people tell me all the time, what, you do these 2-hour seminars for free? Are you nuts? I said, yeah, I am. So that's what I do this for. So I believe that Virgil was correct when he said this well over 2,000 years ago, that the greatest wealth that any of us can have is our health. So here's what we're going to cover today. I got some very interesting things. This might be a different kind of seminar that you've ever been to. So first of all, we're going to talk about being a minority, what that really is like. Now, some of you have different levels of experience being a minority. I'm sure you do. And when you choose to be vegan or plant-based, guess what? You choose to become a minority in the world that we live in today. Absolutely. We also want to talk about the law of diffusion of innovation, how new ideas actually become embraced and become more accepted in the world. But then we're going to talk about what upsets us. Why do we get upset when our friends or our family members do not listen to us about why it's so important to become vegan or plant-based? So we're going to look at that. Then we're going to also look at something called vegan attachments. I'm not going to say anything more. We're going to dive into that later. It's a very powerful conversation. And then we'll talk about very important aspects of how we can choose and create happiness for ourselves and our lives, despite all the other circumstances that we're facing in our life, and how we can choose love at every moment of our lives. And then we'll finish up talking about how you can make the rest of your life the best of your life. So that's what we're going to cover today. Lots of great stuff. And as always, my webinars and seminars are always updated, are always changed and revised, and always improving and evolving, because guess what? I'm a student, always have been, always will be. I've got lots of teachers, lots of coaches. I'm still a student all the time. In fact, I just spent 5 days working, listening to Tony Robbins just last week. And so I was listening to him. So I'm always getting coaching. One of my coaches has some words of wisdom to impart to you. I will invoke his spirit here right now. You must unlearn what you have learned. So I'm hoping you're willing to have an open mind, as Yoda suggests. All right, so now let's start off by talking about what's it like to be a minority. I've been a minority all my life. I've always, not only being a Latin American living in Los Angeles, but I've been a minority all my life in so many different ways. I was always the person that never fit in. I was the odd egg, all right? I was the nerd. I was a person who was never socially accepted. I was the person who was not popular. I mean, everybody else played football, basketball, and baseball. I was a swimmer, okay? I played tennis. I mean, I was so different. I was always different. And you know, when you're a minority, it doesn't feel good to be rejected by people. It never feels good. It's not a good feeling to be basically ostracized or criticized or even made fun of, because that happens too. I've had so many people poke fun at me because I'm vegan. Oh my God. The list goes on. So many times I've had so many jokes about all kinds of things. I mean, there have been so many occasions when I've been, oh, here he comes again. Yeah. I've had all those kinds of things. So what I've learned to do over the years is to have a little sense of humor, because it really helps to have a sense of humor in dealing with this. We're all different. Every single one of us, we're all different. I can't, you know, there is no cliques, there is no belonging in any particular group. We're all one. We are, and we have to view ourselves that way. So it's really important to have a sense of humor about it all. So I love approaching things with a sense of humor. I mean, people ask me all the time, for instance, are you getting enough protein? I love this one. Okay, all right. No meat at all. Are you sure you're getting enough protein? You know, the strongest animal on the face of the planet, gorillas, they can lift 10 times their body weight. What do they eat all day? 60 pounds of plant material and no meat at all and no barbecues. Huh, amazing. So how is it that a gorilla has absolutely zero protein deficiency? How is that? So I just have fun with it. Another one, oh, this has happened to me countless times. You look ill. Aren't you eating? Okay, and by an overweight family, right? I cannot begin to tell you, my father put on at least 75 pounds. He was a world-class athlete. He put on 75 pounds and would criticize me for looking ill. All right, so just nuts. It's just nuts. All right, it's like really crazy. I love this one too. People stop you in the supermarket. Really? No meat or eggs or cheese? My goodness, what do you eat? Yeah, I get that all the time. Yeah, I get that because I shop at Trader Joe's and I get these people stopping me and they know me. And I say, what do you eat? Yeah, here it is. A whole shopping cart full of great food. Great food. Oh, going to social occasions. Oh, you know what that's like, right? Yeah, I've been ostracized like this. Oh, great. Who invited the herbivore? Yeah, I'm always bringing hummus. I'm always bringing hummus. So that's me. I'm always doing that. So I bring the hummus. And then, you know, in my family, when I visit my parents and anytime there's a family get together, it's always been like this for years. It's been this way. When you're the only one in your family and you choose to celebrate your birthday at a vegan restaurant. Yeah, baby, that's how it's going to go. Yeah, you get the looks, you get the dirty looks. Oh, yeah, I know what that's like. And then on social media, have you noticed? Okay, have you noticed that in social media, you know, if you post a picture of on the left of these fruits, okay, and this beautiful fruit bowl, and you say breakfast, and then the response to you is going to be, oh my God, you're so healthy and inspiring. I'm going to make a smoothie right now. Can you give me some recipes? But if you put in the words so much, you put in go vegan, they immediately jump all over you and say, oh my God, stop forcing your views on me. Bacon, eat some. Yeah, not everyone can afford to eat fruit. I mean, they completely attack you. Oh, I've had this happen countless times. And then some people, oh gosh, I mean, when I tell people that I'm vegan, they got all their arguments. They come after me with their arguments. You know, don't you miss bacon? Calcium is only found in milk. All right, but eggs are not animals. And then you eat fish, right? And God wants us to eat meat, plant stuff. You'll get a protein deficiency, famous. All right, how do you feel? What about B12? I mean, I get all of these for years, over 25 years, I've been getting these kinds of comments from so many people. I love this meme. I saw this when I just had to include this. It was so great. I started my vegetarianism for health reasons. Then it became a moral choice. And now it's just to annoy people. I love that. So you just got to take a sense of humor to everything, I think. It really is. I mean, far too many of us get far too significant about it. Yes, we have our commitments. Yes, we're passionate about so many things. Don't get me wrong. I completely support all of your passions and your commitments. Totally. If you're passionate about the environment, passionate about the animals, passionate about health, all of it's important as far as I'm concerned. But we need to have a sense of humor. And I love what Don Miguel Ruiz talks about in his book, The Four Agreements, and not take anything personally. You've got to be able to be like ducks and have it flow off our back just like water would. So we just need to be able to have that. Now, it's very interesting. We have to laugh at ourselves sometimes, right? We have to laugh at ourselves because guess what happens when a friend of ours actually turns vegan? We go crazy. Now, don't we? We get so excited, and rightly so. It's perfectly fine. But it's just amazing, right? When somebody we know, when finally goes vegan, it's just fantastic. Now, here's the question we need to ask. When we look at our whole population, what percent of our population do you think is currently right now vegan or plant-based? Okay, so I'll put them all together. All right, vegan or plant-based. All right, so what percent of the population do you think? Go ahead, I just want to see a few answers. Put that in your chat window right now. Go ahead and type it in the chat. All right, 5%, 5%, 4%, 5%. Okay, just a few responses. Great. Okay, 2%, 2%. Yeah. Okay, 6%. Great. Okay. So good question. Of which population? So if we look in the United States, we see a particular population. And it's interesting to note that in Britain, it's a different population. So the law of diffusion of innovation, this is something that I learned about. It's a very, very powerful concept. That new ideas, concepts that are innovative take time to adopt. For instance, cell phones. All right, like cell phones, we didn't always have them. I mean, there was a time, I date myself, but there was a time when anything like a handheld device that you could communicate with was only seen on Star Trek. All right, so that was the only time we ever saw anything like that. But it's amazing because it became reality. So what we notice is this, it's a very interesting phenomenon, the law of diffusion of innovation, that The first group to adopt something new are what we call the innovators. So it's a very small group, about 2.5% of the population. So they're the ones that when the ads came out for cell phones and Apple phones, they were waiting in line overnight to get their cell phone. Like those are the innovators, like they got to have it, and they'll spend whatever money they need to get in order to get that device. And then the next group to adopt are going to be what we call the early adopters, and that's 13.5% approximately. All right, so that's the first 16% of the population. If we don't get the idea to get past that group, then the idea dies. So the tipping point, which is the point where an idea starts to actually gain a foothold, is going to be around 16%. And that is in order to get into the next group, which is 34% of what we call the early majority. Right? So that's the early majority. That gets us up to about 50%. Now, after that is the late majority. So the early majority says, well, it seems like a good idea. I'm going to get this, so I'm going to go for it. But then there's the late majority. That was me. Okay, it's like, oh my God, everybody else has it. I better get on board eventually because otherwise I'm going to be missing out. It seems like I need to finally bear down and get a phone. So I finally got a cell phone. And then there are the laggards. Okay, so there are some people that resist to the bitter end. All right, so they are still operating with dial-up phones and rotary dial phones and push button phones. So they still have those. All right, so those are your laggards. Now that's an example with phones and how that works. And it's the same kind of an example that works with just about everything. So when we look at being vegan or plant-based, it's very interesting because when we look at the United States right now, we're at about 5%. Okay, it's about 5% that are vegan or plant-based right now in the United States. All right, so now it's interesting because in Britain, there was just a report released that as of January, because of the support at a lot of different levels, and I'll talk more about this later, 30% of the British population is choosing to avoid meat. Isn't that exciting? That's exciting. So they've been able to cross the chasm in Britain. They're starting to cross the chasm, all right? So early adopters like the innovation because it's scarce, it's a scarce idea. While the early majority accept the innovation because others accept it. Now, here's what's different. I love this graphic because at first, there is scarcity of the idea. Like we're the unusual ones. There's a scarcity of this. But then what happens because of social proof, we start to have this group, the early majority, start to gain this new idea, start to grasp this idea and adopt it. So that's what's happening in Britain. It's also happening in Australia and New Zealand. And so other countries in the British Commonwealth are starting to adopt this a little bit more. So it's very interesting. So we're behind as far as England is concerned. So we're well behind that. But that's what's happening. So what eventually will occur? Well, eventually will occur if we just are patient and consistent and we're positive about it, we will be able to develop tribes of people who are vegan and plant-based and they're aware. All right, so we won't be just a single black sheep in a white flock of sheep. No, we'll end up having flocks of badass bad sheep. That's what we'll have. That's my vision. All right, so that's what we're going to be able to have. It's going to happen. It's just going to take time. So it's starting to grasp. Now, believe me, 25 years ago, when I started on this journey of being strictly whole food, plant-based vegan, I was the lone sheep in a lot of area. I mean, there was just very few of us around, very, very few. So we were very, very lonely. So how do we thrive being vegan or plant-based in an unfriendly world? Because we're not here yet. We're not here at the point where we have the flocks to really attach to and to get connected to. So how do we thrive? So we start this conversation by looking at something. A quote from Dr. Michael Kalitze. who said this to me when I was in my undergraduate studies. He said, remember that all of life is in one of two states at any given moment. Either it is surviving or it is surviving or thriving, and that's all there is. That's all there is. And when he said this, it caught my attention because I couldn't understand it. And I said, you're saying it's just one or the other? And he said, that's exactly what I just said. And I said, I'm thinking there's got to be a bell-shaped distribution curve like we just saw, right? And he said, no, it's one or the other. And I said, I don't get it. He said, sit with it, Ruben, you'll figure it out. Well, I hated when he said that to me, which he did often. And I sat with it for 3 years. And I was in my first year of medical school at UC Davis, and I finally connected the dots. So I was in a class called embryology, which is the study of the embryonic period of human development, from the moment of conception to the point where everything's there, then it just gets bigger. We call it a fetus after that. So that's pretty much the first trimester. So mothers, you know it well. Fathers, you probably remember it too, because she was asking for pickles and ice cream at 2 o'clock in the morning. So the thing is, that's the first trimester. It's an incredible period of human development. And early on, we all look like this, a ball of cells that you can't distinguish one from the other. They all look the same. But eventually this ball of cells multiplies and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where it starts to fold inward, and then it starts to form a tube of cells that will become the first organ system of the body. Now, this is incredibly important when it comes to understanding this concept of thriving or surviving, okay? So it becomes the neural tube. The neural tube is what gives rise to the central portion of the brain, which we call the limbic brain, which is the amygdala, the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, all of those central features of the brain. And it's all connected to the entire spinal cord that goes down your back. Now, this is the electrical system of the body, and it runs the body. You do not have to think about beating your heart or breathing while you sleep. You don't have to think about digesting your food. It is on autopilot, and it's on all the time. Now, the professor said it's an electrical system, and it's got two currents, just like any basic electrical current. You've got a positive current and a negative current. The positive current is referred to as the parasympathetic branch of the central nervous system. So when it is on, it is affecting every organ cell every organ system in the body, and every cell in the body in a particular way. That's the positive current. The negative current is the sympathetic branch of the central nervous system. When it is on, it is affecting every organ system in the body and every cell in the body in a different way, a polar opposite way. These two systems are polar opposite. This is critical for us to understand here. When it comes to be able to thrive being vegan or plant-based in an unfriendly world, we need to stay in the parasympathetic state. That's where we need to be able to stay. Now, what happens is this: when we're in the sympathetic state, when we're experiencing stress for any reason, physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual stress is enough to trigger us to be in the sympathetic state. If we're upset with somebody because they're not adopting a vegan or a whole plant-based diet, they're not listening to us, they're not supporting us, whatever the case may be, we get stressed. And we're in the state of survival. We're operating from very primal functioning, and we experience fight, flight, freeze, or fold as reactions, but even a perceived threat is enough to trigger us being in the sympathetic state. Now, here's what we show in the literature: that the common thread of all chronic disease is being in the state of dis-ease far too much. Now, you may have chosen to be vegan or plant-based for your health, and that's a great reason. But if you're stressed with everybody around you, then you're not really doing yourself as much of a service, because you're continuing to be putting yourself in the sympathetic state. So this is why it's really important for us to understand this. And this is what lifestyle medicine is all about. Lifestyle medicine is fundamentally about empowering you to shift your central nervous system state from being in this predominantly in sympathetic to being predominantly in the parasympathetic. And that's what we need to be able to do. Because in the parasympathetic state, we experience peace and pleasure, restoration, digestion, fun, play, and ease. We're thriving, and then our body's able to actually heal itself. That's the most beautiful thing. And this is in every aspect, including our relationships. And when we do that, we're actually functioning in a very powerful state. So I have a webinar called The 5 Secrets of Living a Thriving, Healthy, Happy Life. You'll have to check it out. It's really great. And I'll give you the nutshell. So the 5 things that I say that we all have total control over that influence our central nervous system state are the following. Number 1 are the thoughts that we think, because thoughts are powerful. Our thoughts are powerful. They really are. And if we've got stinking thinking, then we're going to be in the sympathetic state. So we need to use the power of positive thinking in order to be in the parasympathetic state. It's one or the other. And then the words that we speak are also critically important, because if we're complaining, if we're gossiping, we're being critical, cynical, skeptical, we're resentful, and anything else like that, if we're doing all those negative words, then that's going to put us in the sympathetic state. Whereas if we're being uplifting and loving and kind and compassionate and clear, then that's going to help us be in the parasympathetic state. Then the actions that we take are so important, because actions speak louder than words, don't they? So the actions are important for us to be able to be consistent with what we say we're going to do. So if we say we're going to go to the gym on Monday at 5:30 in the morning, then we don't do it, then that's putting us in the sympathetic state. So it's about being able to honor our word and be consistent with our promises. That is what will keep us in the parasympathetic state, living a life of integrity. And then the 4th is the company we keep. This is so critical, because yes, we are affected by the company that we keep. We are. In fact, there's so much more research about this. There's a book called Connections. I'm going to send that link to you, because we're discovering how important our relationships are and how our connections are, and what a significant impact that they have on the quality of our lives. So it's really important for us to address and look at and examine. Do we have people in our lives that have stinking thinking? They're negative and they pull our energy down. You know those people, right? They're energy vampires, right? Like, you see the caller ID on your phone and you think twice before you answer that, right? Those are the ones I'm talking about. Yeah. And so do we need to then shore up and build an inner circle of people and friends that are like-minded and supportive and loving and kind? That's really important for us to be able to do that. We can build that, just like Al Schmidt did. I mean, he built up a circle of friends, 26 new friends that he built up in just a couple of months, to really shore up his life of people he could support, that could support him and that he could be supported by. It was wonderful to be able to do that. And then the 5th is the food that we eat. And a lot of people don't realize this. And if you've been vegan or plant-based, you may not realize that food absolutely has a neurological impact on our body. Yes, it affects our central nervous system. Everything does. Everything affects our central nervous system, including the food that we eat. And guess what? Yeah, animal food, processed foods, refined foods, all those kinds of foods put us in the sympathetic state. Whereas whole food, plant-based foods all put us in the parasympathetic state. It's remarkable. It's amazing. I do lots of seminars on that. All right. Now, not only are these elements important, but all of lifestyle medicine areas are important. So all these 7 areas: hydration, nutrition, physical activity, harmful substance reduction, sleep, emotional well-being and stress management, and healthy relationships, all of it is important to being able to help our central nervous system function from the predominantly in the parasympathetic state. So that's what we're out to do. So now, The question for the day is this: is it possible to live with a non-vegan or non-plant-based person? It can get stressful now, can't it? Yes, it can. It certainly can. So what I've learned over the years is this, that when I am stressed, that I am experiencing stress because it's my perception and my reaction. My perception and my reaction. That everything that I experience as stress is my perception and my reaction. Common denominator is me. That's humbling. So this is an automatic process. It's in our wiring. We've been wired in our subconscious mind. Make sure to check out my Eliminating Self-Sabotage webinar. Be able to check that out because I address this extensively, and also my Stress Management 101 seminar. But this is our conditioning. We've been conditioned to think and react. We react very, very quickly. That's what we do. We don't even have to think about it. So if somebody says something or does something and then we get triggered, we are going to be just reactive, and we're not even thinking at a conscious level. We're operating at a subconscious level. The challenge for us as human beings is to be able to respond, to be responsible and respond, as opposed to react. That's what we have to be able to do. So now I want you to go back to thinking at what I asked you to think about, the person or persons that stress you. I love this graphic here. Thank you for making me so angry that every time I open my mouth, it appears that I have Tourette's syndrome. Yeah, so anyway, I want you to think of that person. So go ahead and don't type it in the chat window. What I want you to do is think of that person right now, like who challenges you, is difficult to deal with, and frustrates, irritates you, annoys you, and upsets you. All right, now here's what I want you to type in the chat window. When you are upset, in that moment of truth, all right, in that moment when you're irritated, annoyed, frustrated, angry, upset, whatever the case may be, sad, any of that, in that moment, what is it that you are saying to yourself about them? What is it that you're saying to yourself about them? All right, so type that in the chat window. All right, like, why? I love that one. That's good. All right, so type away. Be honest. Do not name them. Do not say their name. All right, I should quit my job yesterday. I love that one. All right, really great. So what is it that you say to yourself when you get upset with them? You're selfish, right? Why did I invite you? All right, so what is it you're saying to yourself about them? Okay, you think you're so smart, but you're not. Okay, so that's what you got to own it, right? You own it. You're saying it to yourself about them, right? Okay, so why do you not care about the animals? Yeah, what's wrong with you? Are you stupid? Really? Like, okay, my friend, okay, I think she knows a lot about nutrition. You think you know about nutrition, but you don't. Okay, that's what you're saying to yourself, right? Okay. Why am I reacting the way I am? Okay, good. How can you be so stupid and destructive and lacking self-control and so irresponsible and so ignorant? How can you be that? Why do I bother with you? Yeah. What do you say to yourself? Okay, so those are the things. So these are great examples. Thank you. Great examples. So we get very upset, don't we? We get very upset with them. We get very agitated. In fact, you feel it in your body, don't you? You feel it in your body, like you're tense, you're upset, your stomach gurgles, whatever the case may be. You may feel it in your neck. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you're experiencing. You get upset with a friend or family member, and you're saying all these things to yourself about them. Consider, my friends, and this is one of the most powerful and humbling truths that I learned that changed my life. significantly. So I'm going to share this secret with you. Consider it's not about them. Remember the previous slide, I said that what I learned is that when I am stressed, it's my perception and it's my reaction. So it's my conditioning that I've had. Now, I didn't intentionally do this, but my conditioning, 95% of which happened before the age of 7, it was all downloaded in my growing up. I learned to be extremely upset with many people. One case example is my father. I used to be so upset with him all the time. We would have World War III within 5 minutes of being in close proximity of each other. And I learned this lesson that when I'm upset with my father, for whatever reason, right? It wasn't about my father. It was my perception and my reaction. And most of the time, what I learned is that I've got a conversation going on in my head that at a very fundamental inner child level is usually one of these two conversations. I'm not getting what I want, or it shouldn't be this way, it's not fair, or the combination of the two. Now, I want you to take an honest look at yourself and the conversation that you've been having with those friends or family members, some of the things that you wrote down. And I want you to, if you can get this, this will liberate you for the rest of your life. I promise you, it will liberate you. Because if you can get that your inner child, your little 2, 3, 4-year-old is saying, I'm not getting what I want, shouldn't be this way, it's not fair. Okay, if you can get that you are at that level are saying that at the subconscious level, when you're upset with somebody else, then you can own it and you can claim it. Only then can you change it. You have to own it and claim it before you can change it. Now, if you can get this, it will make a difference because it will relieve you of the suffering. It will relieve you of the suffering that you've been experiencing. Now, Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my favorite teachers, says this: people have a hard time letting go of their suffering. Yeah. Out of a fear of the unknown, they prefer suffering that is familiar. Yeah, baby. Yeah, that's what we do as human beings. So we prefer suffering that is familiar rather than letting go. Dan Millman, another one of my favorite teachers, says this, that life is not suffering. It's just that you will suffer it rather than enjoy it until you let go of your attachments, your mind's attachments, and just go for the ride freely, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. This is powerful to get. When we're upset, we are suffering. When we are upset, we are suffering. We're not in the parasympathetic state. We're in the sympathetic state. We are suffering. And we've got attachments. Our emotional attachments has got a grip on us. And we're living at the effect of those attachments. We're not free. We're not joyful. We're not authentic. No, we're not any of that. No, we're completely at the effect of our subconscious wiring. And this is critical to being able to thrive being vegan or plant-based in an unfriendly world. It really is. This empowered me so much. A wonderful book that I recommend, I'm going to send you, by the way, a list of books. Wonderful book that I read that really explains this so well is the book by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. So his father wrote the 4 Agreements. The son wrote the 5 Levels of Attachment. Powerful book. Powerful book. It will empower you on the journey of being able to live an authentic self-life, an authentic life. So the first level is actually no attachment. Yeah, to be authentic means no attachment. Isn't that amazing? That's what it means to be authentic. That's where you can be present, completely present with total acceptance, living from joy with no conditions and no expectations. To be authentic means to be able to live with no attachment. The second level of attachment is preference. This is when we have an attachment to how we would like it to be, but we're okay if it's not. We can live with it. You know, if we go to the Kings game, want to watch basketball, we can live with our team. You know, if we're watching the Kings play the Los Angeles Lakers, okay, that's a common rivalry here in Sacramento. You know, so we would like to see the Kings beat the Lakers, but you know, the Lakers are world champions. We can be okay if it's just a good game and they still lose. We have a preference. We have a preference. And then the third level of attachment is a little bit stronger. Now is what we do is we adopt an identity. Okay, so now I go to the Kings game and I'm wearing the Kings hat, the Kings jersey, the Kings jacket. So it's obvious that I am a Kings fan and I'm cheering for the Kings, you know. It's a little stronger level of attachment, but I'm still okay if they lose, even though I want them to win. All right. But then the next level of attachment is where it gets a little bit even stronger. And that's what we refer to as internalization. Now, internalization is now what we do is we say, all right, the Kings better win. If they don't, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be really upset if they don't win. So they better win. If they lose, I'm going to get upset. And so that it becomes a condition for self-acceptance. If they win, we're happy. If they lose, I'm mad. All right, so that's how it works. So there's this dichotomy in how we operate in this level of internalization. And we impose our view on others as well. Yeah, you better be cheering for the Kings, all right? Yeah, if you are, you're my friend. If you're not, you're my enemy, kind of a thing. So it's internalization. The fifth level of attachment, the highest level of attachment is rigid attachment. So rigid is fanaticism. So internalization is it should be a particular way. The King should win. That's the operative word. But in fanaticism, it's must. It's must. Like your beliefs become more important than the experience itself. Like they must win. And you are very, very entrenched in being right about it. And it's a very, what we call a fixed mindset, which we're going to talk about a little bit. So these are the 5 levels of attachment. Now we can also practice these different levels of attachment being vegan or plant-based. We can bring those levels of attachment to that conversation as well. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share with you a little bit more of an explanation about those levels of attachment when it comes to being vegan or plant-based. I'm going to start with the second level of attachment and circle back to the first level. Here's my invitation for you. My invitation is for you to be looking at yourself. This isn't about anybody else. This is just for you. Take a look at yourself and notice for yourself which levels of attachment that you operate in, and you may operate at different times in different circumstances with different people. For instance, with certain people, you may be operating from a level of preference. Others, you may be almost fanatical, okay? So you could be a wide range of things. This is an opportunity for you to look at yourself. This is all to empower you to free yourself up. Okay? So take a look for yourself, take notes, and notice for yourself. So I'm going to read these particular passages. So just look for yourself. Don't make yourself wrong. Don't defend yourself. Don't look, just be with it. All right. So let's start with the second level of attachment, preferential vegan. I have chosen as my preference to eat healthfully and follow a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet with no animal products based on my personal research. I use this knowledge to inform my choices, but I do not identify myself as vegan, nor do I try to persuade others. If I choose to have ice cream, I can do so without self-judgment and then re-engage the vegan diet afterward if I choose. I am very much aware of myself and my choices. Okay. So that's the second level, okay? Preferential vegan. Just look for yourself. Now let's look at the next level of attachment. So the next level is identity is vegan. So you got some examples there in the picture. So now what we're saying to ourselves is this: I now call myself a vegan, even when I am not engaging in a meal. My identity is as a vegan, my identity as a vegan gives me a purpose and a place in the community. When I make choices, my identity as a vegan is reflected. If I were to have ice cream, I might feel disappointed in myself, but after a short time would forgive myself and move on. I do not place unreasonable conditions on myself for self-acceptance, nor do my friends and family need to be vegan in order to be in my life. I still have respect for others' point of view, just as I have respect for my own. So sit with that. And that is identity as a vegan, okay? Identity is vegan. So now let's take it up to the next level, the fourth level of attachment. So the fourth level of attachment is an internalized vegan. So this is what we say to ourselves when we're operating as an internalized vegan. My identity is now the catalyst for my conditional love. In order to be worthy of my own love, I must be a strict vegan and not stray. Otherwise, I will feel the wrath of my own self-judgment. I surround myself with other vegans who will confirm the worthiness of being a vegan by accepting and judging themselves and others in how they should eat. I limit the people in my life who are not vegan and will try to persuade the people I love to change their diet, feeling pity for them for not being awake to my point of view. Thus, I'm in constant conflict with those who do not side with me. I still eat a healthy diet, but I'm imposing onto myself and others the knowledge that goes along with my choice. I constantly make others wrong. And the operative word here is should. We should, they should do this, they should do that, they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that. We have this concept of wrong versus right. You should do what's right, you shouldn't do what's wrong. So this is what it means to be internalized and have internalized attachments. So look for yourself. So the next level of attachment is rigid attachment, what we refer to as fanatical vegan. So when we're at this level, when we're operating in this mindset, this is what we say to ourselves. I domesticate and subjugate others to fall in line with my choice of being vegan in an effort to give others the identity I am convinced is the only correct one, which I have adopted for myself. My rigid attachment to this ideal has led to a condition for others to be accepted or rejected. They must accept my point of view, or else they will be completely rejected. The result is unrelenting conflict and domestication. And any contrary response leads to absolute rejection. This leads to an unrelenting war where my passion is replaced by obsession and righteous indignation. So look for yourself to see when you are operating from this level of attachment. And this is an example of this, or some of the people that, and I've seen this. I mean, people actually take on a banner that says meat is murder, and they walk into a restaurant and start screaming at the people eating there in the restaurant. That's fanaticism. That's what we define it in psychology as. So now let's take a look at the first level, being authentic. So what would it mean to be an authentic vegan? So to be an authentic vegan, we would be able to say this to ourselves. I love all animals and humans unconditionally. I have chosen to eat healthfully and follow a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet with no animal products simply because it's my choice. I have no conditions for self-acceptance, just a willingness to engage love with a respect for myself and others. If someone says or does something insulting, it doesn't bother me. Their words and actions fall off of me like loose garments, as there is nothing in me for them to stick to. Because my love is not based on a particular behavior, I love them even through such instances. I have the freedom to evolve as life evolves and to engage people without the need to persuade them to my point of view. Powerful, isn't it? It's powerful. So for you, the invitation is this, to really examine. Now I'm going to send you all the slides, so you're going to be able to get this and take a look at this in more depth, is to really look at your life and to look for yourself as to when you are upset, irritated, annoyed, sad, angry, frustrated, whatever the case may be with anyone else, and to look at yourself and look at your attachments, especially when it comes to being a vegan or plant-based person, and when you're in your relationships with others. How can you strive and evolve to become more of an authentic vegan? By the way, here's an example of some amazing authentic vegans. I thought you'd like to take a look. Some examples for us. Thich Nhat Hanh. Jane Goodall, the Dalai Lama, Greta Thunberg, Dr. Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, and Sister Teresa. These, to me, are wonderful examples of authentic vegans. Really wonderful examples. Living life committed to being vegan and plant-based with no attachment to how anybody else should be. Really a beautiful thing. This story has always been a wonderful story that I want to share with you. It's a wonderful Buddhist story about attachment. It's called The Wise Woman's Stone. A wise woman who was traveling in the mountains found a precious stone in a stream. The next day, she met another traveler who was hungry, and the wise woman opened her bag to share her food. The hungry traveler saw the precious stone and asked the woman to give it to him. She did so without hesitation. The traveler left, rejoicing in his good fortune. He knew the stone was worth enough to give him security for a lifetime. But a few days later, he came back to return the stone to the wise woman. "I've been thinking," he said. "I know how valuable the stone is, but I'm giving it back in the hope that you can give me something even more precious. Please give me what you have within you that enabled you to give me the stone without pause." Isn't that a beautiful story? I love that story. It teaches us a lot. So what I've learned along the way, and powerful lessons, let me tell you, okay? I've learned how to eliminate my attachments and my upsets. And there's several steps. First, recognizing who is causing the upset. So what I learned is, oh, that would be me. If I'm upset, it's my perception, my reaction, it's me. Oh, that's humbling, let me tell you. And it takes practice, okay? It really does. It takes a lot of practice. Second step, stop blaming. Stop blaming. Forget the blame, shame, guilt game. Forget that game. That doesn't work. It never works. Blame, shame, guilt, eradicate it. Let that one go. And then next, let go of your attachments. Realize your attachments. What attachment am I operating from? I oftentimes ask my clients, what level of attachment are you operating from? That's a good question. What is your attachment? What is your attachment? What is it that you're saying to yourself? What should or should not be? What must or must not be? I mean, just take a look and let go. Let go. The next thing is to get grounded in taking complete and full responsibility for your life. It's very powerful when you can actually say, I am completely responsible for my life. I'm not responsible for anyone else, and no one else is responsible for me. Now, if you're an adult, you should be able to say that. That's powerful. When you really take complete responsibility, then there's no indication of being upset with anyone else. They have their choices, you have yours. A great place to operate from is the fifth habit of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The fifth habit is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So the first thing is to understand. A powerful place to operate in life is by understanding others. What are their attachments? What are their concerns? What are their commitments? What are their fears? All right, let's get in their world. Seek first to understand. If we want to improve communication, by the way, check out my webinar on communication for a peaceful life. We need to understand. Now, sometimes it is appropriate to communicate boundaries. It is. What's okay, what's not okay. That's a simple explanation from Brene Brown on boundaries. What's okay, what's not okay. Now, I'll come back to the letter that I got from this woman with the kids. And I responded back to her. I said, look, here's the thing. It's your house. And you are providing room and board and safety and security for your children. Now, they're adults now, and they can choose to leave if they want, but it's your house. You're paying the rent, you're paying all the utilities, you're paying for everything. It's your house. So, and it's not okay with you for you to have meat, dairy, and eggs in your house because that's a shift in energy for you. So it's perfectly okay for you to say, it doesn't work for you to have meat, dairy, and eggs in your house anymore. You've made a choice. And this isn't about being arrogant. This is about being somebody who's living in integrity. This is integrity. This is about integrity. So you have to be able to communicate that. And I said, now communicate that with your children and just let them know, look, I've made a choice for myself and my life. This is my house. So in my house, there will no longer be meat, dairy, and eggs or processed foods or whatever the case. You set up the standards, whatever it is. I'm no longer going to have that. Now, if you want to eat any meat, dairy, or eggs, my request is that you do that outside the house. And I'm going to ask you to honor my request because it's my house. Now, if you don't want to honor my request, there'll be natural consequences to that because you don't need to live here. But if you're going to live here, I'm going to ask you that you honor my request. And I said, look, you got to step up in your leadership. By the way, she works as in a leadership position. I mean, she does it every day. So I said, look, you just got to step up in your leadership. This is your house. Now, I had the same conversation with my boys. I've got 4 of them. And I said, look, this is my residence. I pay for it. It's my rules. All right. This is my energy. So there's no meat or dairy or eggs or processed foods or junk in my house. It's just not going to happen. No alcohol, none of that. Okay. So I don't have any of that. So I request that you honor my request of not having that and be respectful of me. Will you do that? And I asked each one of the 4 boys and they all said yes. So that's part of being able to create peace in your world. And when you're at peace, the world is one person closer to being peaceful as a whole. It really is. So you do have to take complete responsibility for yourself and communicate powerfully for yourself and clearly, not angrily, but powerfully. It's really important to do that. Our mindset is important. We need to have the right mindset. It's not about making other people wrong and us being right. It's about being clear. So we need to operate from a very healthy mindset. Now, Dr. Carol Dweck wrote a phenomenal book called Mindset. Absolutely groundbreaking, amazing book. Now, what she described in the book is that we as human beings, we evolve into being able to operate in one of 2 mindsets at any given moment. We can go back and forth between the 2, and it's the same as our central nervous system. So when we are in the sympathetic state, we are operating from the fixed mindset predominantly. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, when the fixed mindset is operating, we believe that talent is inborn. Either you got it or you don't. But our desire is to have perfection. Okay, so it's being attached. We're attached to perfection. We have attachments. And so what do? We avoid challenge. We give up easily. We see effort as temporary. We get frustrated. We ignore feedback or criticism. We feel threatened, right? That's what happens when we're operating in the fixed mindset. Now, when we're in the parasympathetic state, we operate from the growth mindset. So the growth mindset believes that ability can be developed, that everything is all about learning and improving. It's all about growing. It's all about evolving. It's a beautiful thing. So when we're in this mindset, we embrace challenge, we push through setbacks, we believe that effort is important. It's all about making progress. We use feedback and criticism in order to improve, and we're inspired by other people who succeed. It's wonderful to be in the growth mindset. The challenge we face as human beings in this world in which we live in is that we've been brainwashed for so long to believe that for us to be successful in life, we have to accomplish things. We have to accomplish things. So what we've got is this paradigm of accomplishment equaling success. And we're getting attached to perfection. So we end up with this whole process, this dysfunctional paradigm. And so we get attached to standards and ideals and perfection in the fixed mindset. And it's never truly fulfilling. Never fulfilling. So we're looking for perfection. If only all my friends became vegan or plant-based, then I would be happy. Huh. Right. Yeah, how long is that going to take? And what we need to be able to do is choose to be operating from a growth mindset, which is found based on values and principles. And it's a commitment to learning, and it's always fulfilling. It's all part of the journey. So we have to get rid of the dysfunctional paradigm that accomplishment equals success. Accomplishment is not the same as success. Accomplishment is accomplishment. Accomplishment is winning the prize, achieving the goals, attaining a particular status, whatever the case may be. That's all accomplishment. That's not success. That is not. One of my favorite teachers was Coach John Wooden at UCLA, who coached the Bruins to 10 national championships. And he realized as a coach that he would be judged typically by so many people by his wins versus losses as a coach. He wanted to redefine success in a different way that was healthy, that was consistent with, even though he didn't know it back then, it was consistent with the growth mindset. And so he defined success in a powerful way. And what he said is that success is peace of mind, attained only through self-satisfaction and knowing you have made the effort to do the best of what you're capable of. In my words, I add right now and every moment. You can be a success every single moment. You see, it's the journey. It's not the destination. It's not the accomplishment. It's not the outcome. It's not the outcome. So if we can go through our lives being vegan and plant-based and just being at peace with the self-satisfaction of doing the best that we can to be the best that we're capable of, then our life will be meaningful and it will be successful. And we can be free of the attachments that get us upset, frustrated, irritated, annoyed, and angry, and sad, and all those other things. And then we can be happy. Like, wouldn't you rather be vegan and plant-based and happy? Doesn't that make sense? I mean, yeah. I mean, we should all be happy. I mean, we get happy when somebody else becomes vegan or plant-based, don't we? Yeah, we should be happy all the time. This is from the documentary Happy, which, by the way, is a fabulous, fabulous documentary. The challenge that we have as human beings is that we get caught in the trap of seeking pleasure. We seek pleasure instead of happiness because we're brainwashed by that in the world that we live in. We live in a world where people are walking around with their cell phones all the time, seeking pleasure upon pleasure upon pleasure all the time. I have clients in San Francisco. Before the pandemic, I used to go down and walk down Market Street, and I'd walk past a couple of hundred people at least in a 10-minute walk and have eye contact with maybe two. People are looking at their phones because they're seeking pleasure. The Dalai Lama has this fabulous article that I'm going to share with you. Pleasure is a trap. And what it is, it's immediate gratification. It's temporary. There's little effort. It fluctuates. And we're seeking an avoidance of pain or conserving energy. And it generally leads to more suffering. And what we show neurologically, we actually have brain scans that show that when we seek pleasure, it only interacts in the limbic brain and very little into the frontal cortex. So it's mostly a limbic brain phenomenon when we seek out pleasure. But when we seek out happiness, it integrates all through the brain. It's incredible. But to seek happiness may require delayed gratification, okay? It's sustainable over time, and it requires consistency of our effort. I mean, you can't become healthy overnight just by changing your diet. No, you have to be consistent with it. And you've got to be persistent. And it may require some pain or sacrifice in the short run. Yeah, it might. You have to change some things. You have to modify some things, and that's okay. But in the end, it leads to liberation and no suffering. No suffering. So that's really a great thing. Really a great thing. So we want to seek happiness and avoid the pleasure trap. So it's very important for us to avoid the pleasure trap. Now, my good friend Doug Lyle, who's a psychologist, really brilliant, he wrote a book called The Pleasure Trap. Fantastic. Now, what we do as human beings, we operate in our primordial brain, all right, in our sympathetic state, all right, in our primal brain. We operate just like any other animals, just like sharks, all right. So sharks, all right, so you have a female shark down here swimming around thinking food, sex, food, sex, food, sex, food, sex. Then you got a male shark swimming up here and thinking sex, food, sex, food, sex, food, sex, food. So that's how we operate in the sympathetic state when we're seeking pleasure. And then the thing is, we get caught up in the trap because these two get together and we think, oh my God, it must be love. We're seeking the same thing. We're so compatible. Oh, that's the pleasure trap, my friends. It is not happiness. We think it is. It's a delusion. By the way, to find out more about how to create true happiness in relationship, be sure to plug in next Sunday for Valentine's Day. It's going to be phenomenal. My Creating Healthy Relationships webinar. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. It'll be amazing. So we're going to talk about creating happiness. See, happiness, what I've learned is that happiness is a choice. It's a choice. It's not a result. It's not an outcome. Nothing, I mean nothing, no thing, nothing will make you happy until you choose to actually be happy. And no one will make you happy unless you decide to be happy for yourself. Your happiness will not come to you. It can only come from you. And one of the affirmation statements that I have a lot of my clients and students take on is this affirmation statement: I choose to be happy. It's a choice. And it's a powerful choice. It really is. It makes a powerful difference. So you want to choose to be happy. Choose to be happy. Now, ways to be happy, some practices that can help you in being happy. Ray Chambers has this wonderful set of 5 keys to happiness. I'm going to send you the link that his student, Jeff Weiner, who's the CEO of LinkedIn, was interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. So I'm going to send you that interview. It's very, very wonderful. So it's Ray Chambers, who teaches CEOs and executives how to be happy. Number 1, live in the moment. Lao Tzu said, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you're living in the future. To be happy, live in the moment. Powerful advice. Second, it's better to be loving than to be right. It's better to be loving. And we start by loving ourselves first. Okay, so it's better to be loving than to be right. Third, be a spectator to your own thoughts, especially when you become emotional. That's the most important time. And this is what takes practice. It really does. It takes practice to become a spectator. Oh, there I go again. Stop. Okay, shortchange yourself. And then the 4th key is to be grateful for at least one thing every day. Be grateful. In fact, my challenge is to be grateful for everything and eliminate complaining about anything. That'll change your life considerably, I promise you. And then the 5th key is to help others every chance you get. Every chance you get. Be of service to others, and that will keep you happy. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about being able to let go of our attachments. He says this: letting go gives us freedom. And freedom is the only condition for happiness. I love that. Freedom is the only condition for happiness. And we get that by letting go of our attachments. If in our head we still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. We cannot be free. Okay, so it's really important for us to let go of our judgments and assessments, let go of those. That will really empower us. And what I've learned along the way is that the most powerful thing that we can do is not only to choose happiness, but to choose love, to really choose love. Now, I did this slide intentionally because there are these billboards in different parts of the country. There's a gentleman, I'm going to send you the link to the story about this. He put up a billboard. He's retired and he spent money to put up a billboard, and it's just a red billboard with the white letters love. That's all he's got on it. And it became a movement. And now these billboards have been going up all over the place. It's extraordinary. It's just extraordinary. People are paying money to actually put up billboards that say love. So my word is choose. I say choose love. Consciously, powerfully, choose love. Choose love. All there is fear or love, my friends. That's what I've learned. Is all there is fear or love. As Don Miguel Ruiz talks about in his book, The Mastery of Love. All there is fear or love. If not for love, if not for love, then why? Are you choosing fear? Why do that? No, choose love. Choose love. All right, that's what we want to be able to do. So choose love. A wonderful story to remind us about what we can do. Focus on what we can do. All right. I love this story, the starfish story. I love this one. An old man had a habit of early morning walks on the beach. One day after a storm, he saw a human figure in the distance moving like a dancer. As he came closer, he saw that it was a young woman, and she was not dancing, but was reaching down to the sand, picking up a starfish and very gently throwing them into the ocean. Young lady, he asked, why are you throwing starfish into the ocean? The sun is up and the tide is going out, and if I do not throw them in, they will die. But young lady, do you not realize that there are miles and miles of beach and starfish all along it? You cannot possibly make a difference. The young woman listened politely, paused, and then bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the sea, past the breaking waves, saying, it made a difference for that one. It made a difference for that one. So my friends, if we can operate from a space of choosing love, choosing happiness, letting go of our attachments, we can plant seeds, plant good seeds, and make a difference for others. Just make a difference by being an example. Leadership is by example. We cannot force someone to hear a message they are not ready to receive. But we must never underestimate the power of planting a seed. So never forget that. So I'm going to send you a couple of articles about tips, some tips here, some practical tips. So it's 11 tips on how to live with a non-vegan partner. Okay. So one, make it about healthier choices. All right. Make it about healthier choices. Don't get all in your expectations and attachments. No, just make it about healthier choices. You're just choosing to be healthier. Ask for support directly. Just make requests. Make a request. Share a vegan side dish at dinner. Okay, do that. Yeah, sure. Make a vegan dish as your base meal. You want to do that, especially if it's dinner. That's a great thing to do. Make a vegan dinner meal. That's great. Buying more fresh veggies actually saves money. So you want to show the difference, by the way. Show the difference in the price tag at the grocery store, because when you buy more fresh vegetables and plant-based foods, you actually are going to save money. It will. Cooking together is a wonderful experience. I really support that idea. It's a great idea. Cook together and cook healthy food, because you know what? It's more fun to do it that way. And then let your partner try your vegan meals, because you know what? If they taste really good food, they go, I could actually eat that. Yeah, surprise. Now, if you go out, look at the menus in advance. I always do this. And by the way, there's a great app called Happy Cow. Really great app. Let me go back this one. Happy Cow is a great app, especially if you travel someplace, but it's a good way to look at what's around in the neighborhood that has some vegan or vegan friendly or alternatives that you can actually select from. So really great. So look at the menus in advance. And then another great thing to do is, because everybody loves dessert, right? Veganize a dessert for a surprise. Yeah. By the way, you can make nice cream. I call it nice cream. It's really great. So nice cream is when you take frozen bananas and then you mix it in with any other fruit that you like blueberries or strawberries or raspberries. And then, just put a little bit of almond milk in there or some other plant-based milk, and you just whip it up in it. I have a little Ninja, and I just whip that all up and get it really nice and creamy, just the right consistency. Oh, I put that in a dish, and everybody spoons it up and they go, oh, wow, this is really good. And there's not a speck of any animal in it whatsoever. It's all plant-based, and it's no sugar added, and it's delicious. It's fabulous. So, try that one out. It's really great. So it's really wonderful. Okay, and then let's see, have an open, kind, and loving chat about your choices and being able to express what's okay, what's not okay, what works for you, and what you're up to. Be very clear and communicate. So check out my communication for a peaceful life. And then always, 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 always be respectful. All right, be respectful. You're responsible for your life. They're responsible for their life. So be respectful. Always be keeping that in mind. The other thing that I would like to recommend, another tip for you, is to be inviting. Be inviting. And here's some things that you can do to be inviting. So for instance, if someone you know has a particular health issue, a great place to share with them is you go to forksOverKnives.com, and then there's a particular segment that they have are the success stories. Now you can actually search in that website according to a particular condition like arthritis, heart disease, cancer, chronic fatigue, whatever the case may be. And you can search, and you're going to find different stories of people who have actually taken on a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet and actually had success in changing their life and their health by being able to do that. So you don't need to preach to them, just let somebody else's story make a difference. Because remember, stories are going to help make the difference in people being able to cross the chasm of that law of diffusion of innovation. So stories, personal stories, not necessarily yours, because they don't want you to preach to them. You know them too well. So you don't want to do that. So you want to just share stories with them. Another thing that you can do is share documentaries. Now, here are 3 recent documentaries that I think are really fabulous. These are 3 recent ones. One is The Game Changers, which is a fantastic, well done for people who really they like science, they like the details. That's got so much in it, and it's really designed for the men in particular, especially men who are athletic and who really want to be fit. This is a great documentary for them, but it also includes other aspects of heart disease and other things as well. Great documentary, really well done, very, very well researched in order to do that. Another one, and this has been a major part of, in fact, these 2, The Game Changers and David Attenborough's documentary, A Life on Our Planet, that came out last year. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. These are the 2 that were so significantly impactful in Britain. And so many people have chosen to avoid meat because of these 2. Now there's a ton more, by the way. There's a ton more documentaries. There's so many good ones out now. I mean, there really are. It's amazing. I think the last count that I saw, there's over 50 of these documentaries that are out there. Fantastic. But these are just 3 that I selected. And then the other one is for people who really have a sense of medicine and health. They're really concerned about their health. I choose this one. It's from my colleague. She's a lifestyle medicine physician, Dr. Saray Stancic, and it's called Code Blue, Redefining the Practice of Medicine. Absolutely fantastic. These are great documentaries. These are just recent. There's lots and lots and lots more. Lots of great things. So I've given you today lots of practices to take on for yourself. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, number one, recognize that we are at the beginning of a peaceful revolution. And stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. We're at the very beginning. We've got a ways to go before we cross the chasm in many places, in particular the United States. Other places are a little bit ahead of the game. So it's developing in different levels, different speeds in different places. Number two, let go of your attachments. We've all got them, and really work at being able to let go of them and minimize them or reduce them as much as you possibly can, and move more towards being an authentic vegan or plant-based person. Third, eliminate your upsets and be accepting of other people just the way that they are. Just accept them. Just accept them. You know, really. I mean, do you when you go to an animal sanctuary, are you critical of the animals because they are, you know, a particular way? No. You accept them all. Yeah. So accept all human beings the same way. Next is to choose to be happy yourself, because when you're happy, you know what? Here's the thing. If you're happy, other people will say, well, gosh, you're always happy all the time. I'm going to be like you. Yeah. Well, what's your secret? Well, part of the secret is that I eat only plant-based food. That's part of what makes me happy, because it makes me sad and depressed if I eat animals or I have anything to do with animals. So that's part of me being happy. People love being around other happy people. They do. So be happy. Be happy, and then choose love. Really choose love. Let go of the fear. Let go of the resentment. Let go of all that stuff. No, choose to live a life of love. That is really powerful. And be inviting to people. Really invite them. Be inviting, like inviting, hey, I've got this, you know, like a party, like a great movie, whatever. You invite people. People are, they love accepting invitations to something really great. So be inviting. So those are some practices to adopt, so that you, if you really take on these practices, my intention for you is that you adopt these practices so that you can actually thrive being vegan or plant-based in an unfriendly world. You can thrive regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the people's choices, regardless. You can always thrive if you practice these. Now, I have a question for you. Would you like to make the rest of your life the best of your life? Now, I hope so. I hope that the answer to that question is a resounding yes. So imagine for a moment, if you were living that best life, what would that look like for you? Would it be amazing, like these plant-based athletes who are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s? Yeah, would it be like that? Would it be incredible that you would end up in your life, the end of your life would be filled with health, energy, vitality, and fun? I hope so. I hope so. So I'm hoping that you would like to have that. So the question is, where are you now? Where are you now? Are you there yet? Chances are you're not. All right, most people are not. They're on a journey, they're working at it, okay? So the thing is, how you're at a particular level and you want to get to another level. So how will you get from where you are now to where you want to be? Well, if you want to do anything like that, you need a plan, right? You need a plan to go from A to Z. You need a plan. But more importantly, do you have a plan that's actually proven to work? Most people do not. They don't. They don't have a plan that's proven to work. They just have some ideas. They have some sense of it. All right. Maybe they've heard some stories, or maybe they've talked to some friends, and maybe they've read some articles or read a book or two, you know, but they have some sense, but they don't really have a plan, a proven plan. I do. I actually have a plan that's proven to work, and I'm living proof. Because why? 26 years ago, I was actually 55 pounds heavier than you see me today. I was overweight. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar. I had issues. And it wasn't until a friend walked up to me one day while I was coaching my athletes on deck and called me chubby that day. I got really mad, first at him, but then I got mad at me. And I realized I had done it to myself. So then I made a solemn promise right then and there to completely transform my life. Now, I knew I needed to have a plan. And I went back to what I knew from being an athlete, being a coach, being successful in those areas for many years. So number one, Einstein said the significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. And what we have to get is that we created our problems not intentionally, but subconsciously. So the first order of business is to rewire our subconscious mind. Now, most of us, I don't know of anybody that had courses in high school or college that said that were entitled How to Rewire Your Subconscious Mind Effectively so you don't sabotage yourself ever again. There's no courses like that. But I have been fortunate in my life. I've learned from many great and wise teachers. So that's where we begin. Second thing, we need to have a proven strategy, preferably evidence-based, because doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results is the definition of insanity, yes. So let's not go there. Third, we need to be intelligent in establishing a structure for support and accountability. Now, I've known for so many years as an athlete and as a coach, nobody gets to the Olympic Games without coaching, support, equipment, training, all of those things. You need all of that. All right. So there's no mystery that we need support and accountability because most of us cannot do it by ourselves. It's not going to happen. So if you're alone, okay, you've got to set yourself up. You got to be able to reach out and get that support and accountability. That's what's really important. And then the fourth thing is that we've got to be able to create a track record of consistency so that we can develop the new habits that actually lead to changes in our life, transforming our life, because habits produce results. Habits produce results. So these are the four pieces. Now, by the way, it's no mystery. It works in sports, works in business, works in health, works in everything. It's a 4-point plan. It works really well. So that's what we want to be able to do. Yeah, I have several things that use this approach. Number one, I do individual service. I do lifestyle medicine consultations for people. This is where I sit down with you one-on-one, either virtually or in person, and we go through a very comprehensive lifestyle medicine history. You submit any of your latest blood work. I will schedule an hour and a half to 2 hours with you, and I will help you, and we will develop a personalized action plan to get you started to make a profound difference in your health, in your life, and your vitality starting now. And I also send a follow-up email with tons of resources. I love giving homework, all right? I used to be a university professor. And then this is a picture of John. John is happy. He's happy because in this picture, he's 75 pounds lighter than he was when he started. And all his blood markers are completely normal. He was on death's doorstep. So he's doing great. In addition, I have a group program and the next one is coming up very soon. All right, so it's a 12-week lifestyle medicine immersion program. The intention of this program is to empower you by being able to create a community of support and accountability, and it's extraordinary. So what we're going to do is 2 weekends. We're going to spend 2 weekends together, and then that's followed by 12 weeks of small group coaching with me, and it's awesome. I mean, people produce incredible, incredible results. I'm going to send you a video of the last call from the last group and most of the graduates, and just so you can watch that for yourself. If you're up for making a profound change in your life, this is a great way to do it. It's awesome. It's a great program. And the last day for registering for this with the early bird special is today by midnight today, Pacific time. All right, so I'm going to send you that information. And so we have 2 weekends. It's extraordinary. I set you up for success like no other program in the world will do. And it's extraordinary. It sets you up very, very well. And just, this is one of my graduates, just one. This is Donna. When she first started with me, she was struggling with her weight. She had already been plant-based and vegan for 8 years. All right, now retired nurse, and she already had serious issues with her health, arrhythmia, blood pressure, all kinds of things, and weight. And so she said, Ruben, I've been struggling. I've been plant-based and vegan for all these years, 8 years, and I still have challenges. And so she came into the program and we started to make those adjustments. There were minor adjustments, just like spokes of a wheel. And as we made those adjustments, Donna got healthier and more vibrant and 70 pounds lighter. In fact, now it's January 2021. I should put the picture up of her now because she's still the same weight, but she's walking like 8, 9, 10 miles a day. It's extraordinary. And she will tell you at the age of 68, she is living her best life now. She's really doing fabulous. In addition, I also do programs for employers and their entire companies. So I do lifestyle medicine in the workplace. I'm on the committee for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine for lifestyle medicine as well in the workplace. So I do that. And here is my contact information. And so now what I'm going to do is go to the chat window so I can look at your questions and statements so I can answer those. And if you want to ask a question out loud, then unmute yourself. So let's see here. Okay, some of you are writing all kinds of stuff. Okay, we got all kinds of things. All right, questions, anybody, anything? Okay. Questions, let's see, all right. Questions, please ask, unmute yourself, ask. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Lane.
This isn't a question exactly, but just a comment.
Yeah.
That it was very helpful when you described the things that were not, maybe you can help me reword it, but fear was one way of going off the rails and anxiety was the other. Fear and anxiety maybe being of the future and depression being of the past.
Yes.
And that was like very helpful. And
very good.
They wanted to get to by letting go of those was what exactly?
That was from Lao Tzu, who wrote Great Wisdom in China well over 2,000 years ago. And he said, when we are depressed, we are living in the past. When we are anxious, we are living in the future. To be happy, live in the moment.
Well, I found that very helpful. Thank you.
Good, really great. All right, good. Let's see. Let me go to, let's see. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I've long been a proponent of unconditional love, but there is one person in the world who was a world leader that I don't love. And I'm not going to be communicating with that person. I don't actively hate them, but I did hate what they did. And I tried for a long time to keep my equanimity, but I didn't. I finally just really, really felt hatred and violent hatred. And when I did that, I was able to not hate them anymore, but I certainly don't like them and I certainly don't love them.
Got that. Got that. General Eric Shinseki, who was the first Asian American cabinet member, and he was the director of Veterans Affairs in the Obama administration, a brilliant, brilliant leader. And he said this: we must love those we lead. We must love those we lead. And it's really powerful to step into that, even when those are leaders. And, you know, to be able to love people regardless of who they are and how they're acting, and regardless of their behavior. So it's very, very powerful to step into that. So it's just an invitation. It's just an invitation. I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that now.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Totally get it. Let's see.
What was the last word you said? We must love those we what?
Lead.
Lead.
L-E-A-D. We must love those we lead. Yeah, that's powerful advice for a leader. Very powerful. Not all leaders follow that. Not all leaders. Okay, let's see. Okay, so it looks like there's a bit of a discussion going on here. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Okay. Any questions? Anybody?
I don't,
Sure.
I have my daughter is going to be moving in with me probably in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
It's should be a relatively short time. And she is not vegan, but the times that we've stayed with one another, just for vacations and this and that, we've cooked mostly together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I can eat a little bit of meat occasionally or dairy, and it's not that big a deal for me, because in my own life, I live alone. I eat 100% vegan in my home and when I go out by myself. So I always thought, well, a little bit here and a little bit there with family or friends is not that big a deal.
Okay.
So, but now with her living with me, I was thinking of just eat separately. But then I think it might be best if I do have a talk with her about, I mean, I don't mind if she cooks meat here, but if she if we're going to share anything, if she's going to share my food, then she needs to not put meat in. If she makes a big pot of something that's going to take up my fridge, she's going to have to do it without meat. So I think it is, thinking about this, I think it is going to be something I need to discuss and get. So we need to have a meeting of the minds.
Yes.
We're together. And I was thinking about saying something like, okay, why don't you, because she likes turkey burger, salmon burger and that sort of thing. And I was thinking about saying, why don't you just cook a bunch of that and then put it off to the side, and then you can add it to your stuff. But then anything else we'll make, without meat and dairy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad this was brought up, because it is something that should be discussed beforehand. So thank you.
Very good. Very good. Shelley, you bring up something that's very important. I mean, one of my teachers taught me this, that anything can be resolved with communication. And the problem that we get into a lot of times is that we make assumptions or we don't communicate, and then we end up with resentments and we end up with all kinds of crazy things like that. So, being proactive will certainly help as preventing becoming reactive.
Right.
Yeah. So really great that you're taking that on.
We've been discussing it for some time, because we've been discussing it for a few months, because this is going to be the plan. So I've been keep bringing up things come to mind and think, oh, what is your feeling on this? And so we're trying to get everything that we can possibly think of out on the table before, because those assumptions that, well, of course, this is how we're going to do things. That's what gets you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. Really great example, Shelley. Thank you for sharing that. And I think you're definitely on the right track. Keep doing what you're doing as far as having communication with your daughter and keeping those channels of communication open. And I know I did that with my boys, and we always had communication. We talked about things. We shared, and we were very respectful and making requests and all those things. And they understood where I was coming from. I understood where they were coming from, and it would really make things work. And it's wonderful.
Looking forward to this, because she's not a huge meat and dairy person, but she's certainly not willing to give it up at this point. But I'm looking at this because I'm retired now, which is the best thing in the world. And I have time to make a lot of really yummy vegan things. So I can immerse her with it. And so maybe she can start to change her palate while she's here. Yeah. And, because I don't want to say, oh, I don't want to lecture.
No.
And all that doesn't work with her.
That doesn't go well. Really.
So I had a question.
Yes, Teresa.
So I told you that I was, my blood pressure is getting back to normal, and I'm still on the hydrochlorothiazide and the atenolol.
Okay.
But last week when I went to have some work done, some blood work and urinalysis, I was told that I'm severely dehydrated. But I'm drinking like 3 liters of water. That's my minimum. And then with the tea and the vegetables and everything, I don't see how I can be. But I do get a little thirsty. But with the water pills, I'm using the restroom, quite often, more than usual. And I was wondering if it could be the hydrochlorothiazide because, because my blood pressure, like when I went in, it was 100 over 50. So it's like with the vegan lifestyle, my blood pressure has come down quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So call me later. And then we can talk about setting up something, because you probably need to talk to your doctor about being able to get off the medications, okay? Because one of the things that happens, it's a common, by the way, this is a common side effect of being adopting a vegan and a plant-based diet. One of the common things is that when people are on medications for a variety of things, whether it's diabetes or blood pressure or heart medications, whatever the case may be, is that a common thing is that the body starts to heal and it no longer needs the medications, because the medications were trying to mitigate the harm of the disease process. So the body starts to heal, the disease process starts to go away. The medications basically start to create a different problem. They overcompensate. So
right. And thinking about overcompensating, like, I sleep with my watch, the smart watch.
Okay.
And like between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning, it says that I've exercised for like an hour, sometimes 160 minutes, So, I'm just laying still sleeping.
Right. Yeah. So there's all kinds of things that are going on. And so, yeah, give me a call later and we can talk about setting up something with a conversation with your doctor. I'm happy to talk to your doctors. Not a problem, because this is a common side effect. I can give them reference to materials and research articles that they can get to understand, because the doctors don't know all of this. By the way, their training is to, once they diagnose blood pressure, diabetes, whatever the case may be, that you are going to be on medication for the rest of your life. That's their training. Okay, that's their training. I know, I have the training. Okay, so the thing is, that's their training. They're not trained to take people off the medications. They're trained to have more meds and more meds and more meds, because, we get this medication, we may end up with these side effects, and then we're going to end up using this medication to counteract that side effect, and it goes on.
Because when I talked to her, she was talking about putting me on a different high blood pressure medication.
Right.
Not a slacker, but a different.
Right.
A different.
I get it. Totally got it. Yeah. Set up a separate call with me. We'll do that.
Okay.
We'll go over that.
Okay.
That's a great example. That's an example of what happens. But it really is a great thing to be aware of, because that is something that's not uncommon. It happens quite a bit.
Yeah, she's registered me with a sleep study program that I'm supposed to get into.
Yeah, she's looking for other problems. That's the training. That's the training. You're getting healthier. All right, let me see. Let me go back to the chat window for a moment here. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see, Renee, you asked about my slide. I don't know which slide. Let's see, because I'm seeing all kinds of other chat going on, but I didn't know. Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna see if there's anybody else. Any other questions? Unmute yourself. Just unmute yourself. I'm not gonna look at the chat window anymore. So, and unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. Otherwise, I'll say goodbye and invite you to come to my Creating Healthy Relationships seminar. That's going to be next Sunday. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. It's really great. I got so many great things to share with you. It's just fantastic. And my request of all of you is to please share. So this evening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together the follow-up email from today's webinar. You'll get the link to the recording. You'll get all the slides. You'll get lots of resource information and information about my services as well. Check it all out. Be sure to share this widely with your friends and family. You may save some lives, okay? You may really do that. So thank you again. Thank you so much. See you next time. Okay, bye.